Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UHS Discovery, watching the massive alien ships appear on his screens. The vessels were unlike anything humans had ever seen. They looked like giant metal insects, covered in spikes and glowing parts. Some were as big as cities. Jake counted at least 50 ships, maybe more. His communications officer, Lieutenant Nancy Wells, turned to him with wide eyes. "Captain, they're sending us a message. It's in perfect English." Jake felt his stomach drop. If these aliens knew human language, they had been watching Earth for a long time. That was never a good sign. "Put it through," he said. The main screen flickered and an alien face appeared. It was terrifying to look at. The creature had 6 eyes arranged in a triangle pattern. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth that moved like scissors. Its skin looked like black glass, reflecting the lights of its ship's bridge. "I am High Admiral Zexathera of the Kralin Empire," the alien said. Its voice sounded like breaking glass mixed with the buzz of angry insects. "You will identify yourselves and prepare for boarding." Jake stepped forward. He had trained for this moment his whole life, but nothing could have prepared him for how real it felt. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Human Ship Discovery. You are in human territory. Please state your business here." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. It was not a pleasant sound. "Human territory?" Zexathara repeated. "Foolish creature, there is no such thing. There is only the Galactic Empire and soon-to-be conquered worlds. Your species will surrender immediately or face complete extinction." Other aliens appeared behind Zexathera. They all looked similar, like giant bugs standing on 2 legs. Some had wings that buzzed constantly. Others had extra arms that ended in claws. All of them were staring at the humans like they were looking at insects. "We represent the greatest civilization in the galaxy," Zexathara continued. "We have conquered 12,000 worlds. We have enslaved 100 different species. Your primitive race will join them or die." Jake felt his crew tense behind him. He could hear someone breathing hard. Another person whispered a prayer, but Jake kept his voice steady. "I need to contact my government. Can you give us some time to discuss this?" "Time?" Zexathera's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "Very well. You have 72 of your hours to surrender. After that, we will demonstrate why resistance is pointless." The alien cut the connection. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the ship's engines. Jake turned to his crew. "Nancy, get me a priority channel to Earth Command. Use the quantum link. They need to know about this right now." While Nancy worked, Jake studied the alien ships on his scanner. They were arranged in a perfect military formation. Each ship bristled with weapons. Energy readings showed power levels that could destroy planets. This was clearly a force meant for total war. "Channel open, Captain," Nancy reported. "General Patrick Hayes, Earth Command," came the response. The general's voice was calm, but Jake could hear the tension underneath. Jake quickly explained the situation. He described the alien ships, their demands, and the 72-hour deadline. When he finished, there was a long silence. "Copy that, Discovery," General Hayes finally said. "Maintain your position and observe. Do not engage unless fired upon. We'll handle things from here." "Sir, what should I tell them if they contact us again?" Jake asked. "Tell them exactly what Ambassador Lisa Carter tells them. She's on her way." 3 hours later, Ambassador Lisa Carter arrived on a fast diplomatic ship. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Jake had heard stories about her. She had negotiated peace treaties with hostile nations on Earth. She had talked down terrorists and prevented wars. If anyone could handle this situation, it was her. Lisa boarded the alien flagship with a small team. Jake watched on his screens as her shuttle docked with the massive enemy vessel. He wished he could go with her, but this was diplomat work now. The meeting lasted 2 hours. When Lisa returned, her face was grim. "They want Earth to surrender completely," she told Jake. "No negotiations, no compromise. They want our entire species to become their slaves, and if we refuse, they will destroy every human world they can find." "What did you tell them?" Jake asked. Lisa looked directly at him. Her eyes were cold as winter. I told them they had one chance. Turn around and leave our space. We won't ask again. Jake stared at her. Ambassador, did you see their fleet? They have enough firepower to turn Earth into dust. Lisa smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Jake, how long have you been in space? 15 years, ma'am. And in all that time, what have you learned about humanity? Jake thought about it. He remembered rescue missions where humans had saved each other against impossible odds. He remembered colonies built on hostile worlds through pure determination. He remembered wars where humans had won through cleverness and courage when enemies had better weapons. We don't give up, he said. That's right, Lisa nodded. And we don't bluff. She activated her communicator. General Hayes, this is Carter. Initiate Protocol 7. Full authorization, do it now. Jake had never heard of Protocol 7, but something in Lisa's voice made him believe that the aliens had made a terrible mistake. Across human space, things began to happen. Construction worker Tony Blake stopped building apartment complexes and started welding armor plating onto civilian ships. Dr. Helen Ross left her university laboratory and headed to a secret government facility. Farmer Bill Carter received a coded message and began converting his tractors into something very different. On Earth, deep underground facilities that most people didn't know existed came to life. Machines that had been waiting for decades started humming with power. General Hayes sent a message to every human colony, every ship, every outpost. This is not a drill. Condition Red is now in effect. All citizens are to follow their emergency protocols immediately. The 72 hours passed quickly. Jake watched as more alien ships arrived. The enemy fleet grew larger every hour. By the end of the deadline, there were over 200 alien vessels surrounding human space. High Admiral Zexathara appeared on screen again. Your time is finished, humans. Surrender now, or face destruction. Lisa Carter stood beside Jake on the bridge. She looked directly at the alien commander. We gave you our answer, you should have listened. Zexathara made that horrible laughing sound again. Primitive fools, you will learn why the Galactic Empire is feared across the galaxy. All ships, begin the attack. Show no mercy. The alien fleet began moving toward Earth and the human colonies. Weapons powered up. Launch bays opened to release fighter craft. Jake felt his heart pounding, but Lisa Carter remained calm. Send one final message to their fleet, she told Nancy. What, should I say, Ambassador? Lisa looked at the approaching alien armada. Hundreds of ships, thousands of weapons, millions of enemy soldiers coming to destroy humanity. Tell them we tried to warn them, she said quietly. Tell them to remember that we gave them a chance to leave. The message was sent. Jake watched, the alien ships getting closer on his screen. And now? He asked. Lisa Carter smiled that cold smile again. Now they find out why we told them to run. High Admiral Zexathara stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. The massive ship was the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons that could crack planets in half. Around him, his officers buzzed with excitement as they prepared for what they believed would be the easiest conquest in Empire history. Status report, Zexathara commanded, his 6 eyes scanning the tactical displays. All fleets are in position, Admiral, reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Vexatal. 53,000 ships ready for the advance. The humans have gone completely silent. No communications, no ship movements. They appear to have given up already. Zexathara clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. As expected, when primitives see the true might of the Empire, they usually surrender without a fight. Begin the advance. Target their outer colonies first. We will work our way toward their homeworld. The massive fleet began moving through space like a dark cloud, ship after ship, stretching across millions of miles, all heading toward human territory. The aliens had conquered so many worlds that this felt routine to them, just another day of expanding the Empire. The first human colony they reached was called Kepler 442b. It was a small farming world with about 50,000 people. The planet looked peaceful from orbit, with green fields and small towns scattered across the surface. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the planet, reported the communications officer. Put it through, Zexathera ordered. A human face appeared on the screen. He was an older man with weathered skin and kind eyes. This is Mayor Sam Wright of Kepler Colony. We have received your demands and we surrender unconditionally. We ask only for safe passage for our civilians. Zexathera was pleased. This was exactly how conquests were supposed to go. Your surrender is accepted. Prepare landing zones for our troops. Anyone who resists will be executed. Understood, the mayor replied. All our people will cooperate fully. The transmission ended. Zexathera ordered his landing forces to take the planet. Thousands of soldiers in armed shuttles descended toward the surface. This would be simple and quick. The shuttles landed in the main town square. Empire soldiers poured out, their weapons ready, but something was wrong. The streets were empty. Every building was dark. There were no humans anywhere. Search every structure, ordered Ground Commander Yaxtel. Find the humans. They must be hiding. The soldiers spread out through the town. They kicked down doors and searched every room. But they found nothing. No people, no belongings, no signs of recent life. It was as if the entire population had simply vanished. In the center of town, the soldiers found the mayor's office. On the wall, painted in large red letters, was a message. You should have listened. Commander Yaxtel stared at the words. Something felt very wrong about this place. He activated his communicator to report to the ship. Admiral, the colony appears to be abandoned. We found no humans, but there's a strange message painted on the wall that says, he never finished the sentence. Every building in the town exploded at exactly the same moment. The entire planet erupted in a chain of massive explosions that could be seen from space. Nuclear charges, antimatter bombs, and fusion reactors, all detonated together in perfect coordination. The explosion was so powerful that it vaporized the landing parties instantly. The shockwave damaged several Empire ships in orbit. Debris from the planet pelted the fleet like deadly rain. Zexathera watched in shock as an entire world destroyed itself just to kill a few thousand of his soldiers. In his 300 years of conquest, he had never seen anything like it. Sir, we're receiving reports from other colonies, Vextal said, his voice shaking. The same thing is happening everywhere. Every human settlement is destroying itself as our forces approach. On the mining station called Omega-7, Administrator Kate Phillips waited until Empire ships were docking before she triggered the fusion reactors. The explosion took out half the enemy fleet and left nothing but space dust where the station used to be. Cargo pilot Jack Miller was hauling supplies when the Empire fleet surrounded his freighter. Instead of surrendering, he set his ship to ram the nearest Empire cruiser at full speed. The collision destroyed both ships and damaged 3 others. On New Texas, the colonists had prepared something special. They let the Empire forces land and begin setting up their base. Then they activated underground charges that had been placed months earlier. The entire landing zone collapsed into a massive crater, burying the invaders alive. Every human outpost became a weapon. Every colony was a trap. Every ship was a missile waiting to explode. The humans were fighting like nothing the Empire had ever encountered. This is impossible, Zexathera muttered. Where are their civilians? Where are their cities to hold hostage? Where are their surrender broadcasts? Vextal pulled up intelligence reports on his screen. Sir, our scouts are reporting that human civilian populations began evacuating their colonies weeks ago. They seem to have known we were coming. That's impossible. Our approach was completely secret. And sir, there's something else. Every human facility we've encountered has been rigged for destruction. The explosives aren't crude bombs, they're sophisticated weapons that suggest advanced preparation and planning. Zexathera felt a cold sensation in his chest. This was not how conquests were supposed to go. Where was the panic? Where were the desperate pleas for mercy? Where were the civilians begging for their lives? The Empire fleet continued its advance, but now every officer was nervous. Every asteroid could be a bomb. Every piece of space debris could be a trap. The humans had turned their entire territory into a minefield. Sir, we're approaching the Beta Centauri system, reported the navigation officer. Intelligence says, There's a major human shipyard there. Good, Zexthera said. Finally, we'll find something worth capturing instead of just debris. But when they arrived at Beta Centauri, they found something that made no sense. The shipyard was there, but it was completely empty. Massive construction bays hung in space, with no ships inside them. The facility looked like it had been abandoned for months. Where are their ships? Vextal wondered aloud. Our intelligence said they were building a fleet here. Suddenly, space around the Empire fleet erupted with weapons fire. Human ships seemed to appear from nowhere, attacking from all directions. But these weren't the primitive vessels the Empire expected. These ships moved faster than anything the aliens had seen. Their weapons punched through Empire shields like they were made of paper. The attack lasted only 10 minutes. When it was over, 20 Empire ships were destroyed and dozens more were damaged. The human ships vanished as quickly as they had appeared, leaving no trace. How is this possible? Zexthera demanded. Our sensors showed empty space. Where did they come from? No one had an answer. The Empire's most advanced detection systems had been completely fooled. As the fleet continued toward Earth, reports kept coming in from other battle groups. Human resistance was unlike anything in the Empire's experience. They didn't fight to win territory or protect cities. They fought to kill as many Empire soldiers as possible before dying themselves. A captured human, badly wounded, was brought before Zexthera. The alien admiral expected the prisoner to beg for mercy or offer information in exchange for his life. Instead, the human looked directly at him and smiled. You should have run when we told you to. Your species will be extinct within days. Zexthera snarled. Your pitiful resistance means nothing. The human's smile got wider. We're just getting started. Wait until you see what we've prepared for you at Earth. Zexthera had the prisoner taken away, but the words bothered him. Every human they encountered seemed to know something the Empire didn't. They all acted like they were winning, even when they were clearly losing. Sir, Vextal reported, long-range sensors are picking up the Sol system. We should reach Earth in 6 hours. Finally, Zexthera said, once we destroy their homeworld, this madness will end. Prepare the planet killer. Weapons. We'll make an example of Earth that the galaxy will never forget. But as the Empire fleet approached Earth, something felt wrong. The humans weren't running. They weren't broadcasting surrender messages. They weren't even trying to negotiate. Instead, there was only silence from the Sol system, and somehow that silence was more terrifying than any threat. High Admiral Zexthera stood on his command bridge as the Empire fleet entered the Sol system. His 6 eyes focused on the main display screen, expecting to see a blue-green planet surrounded by desperate human ships making their last stand. Instead, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Earth was gone. Navigation officer, Zexthera said slowly. Confirm our position. Are we in the correct system? Yes, sir, these are definitely the coordinates for the human homeworld. But, sir, the planet isn't there anymore. Where Earth should have been, there was something impossible. A massive structure orbited the sun made of metal and crystal that gleamed like a jewel. It was enormous, easily 1,000 times larger than the biggest Empire ship. Parts of it were still under construction, with huge machines moving pieces the size of moons into place. What is that thing? Vextal whispered. Before anyone could answer, their communication system activated. A human face appeared on the screen. It was a woman with silver hair and calm blue eyes. She wore a military uniform that looked more advanced than anything the Empire had seen. Welcome to humanity's true home, the woman said. Her voice was steady and confident. I am Admiral Grace Kelly. We've been waiting for you. Zexthera found his voice. What have you done with your planet? Where are your people? Admiral Kelly smiled. Our planet is right here. We just improved it a little. As for our people, we're all here too. All 12 billion of us, plus a few billion more we've made room for. Impossible, Zexthera snarled. No species has the technology to build something like that. You're right, Kelly agreed. No species you've encountered has that technology. But then again, you've never encountered humans before. The camera pulled back to show the command center Admiral Kelly was standing in. It was huge, with thousands of humans working at control stations. But what caught Zexithera's attention were the screens showing the construction project. He could see the structure was hollow inside, with entire cities built on the inner surface. There were lakes, forests, and millions of buildings. It was like someone had taken a planet and turned it inside out. Dr. Nathan Price, our chief engineer, would like to explain what you're looking at, Admiral Kelly said. Another human appeared on screen. He was younger, with messy hair and excited eyes. Hi there, he said cheerfully. What you're seeing is called a Dyson sphere. We took our planet apart piece by piece and used the materials to build this. It's much more efficient than a regular planet. We can house 100 times more people and generate 1,000,000 times more energy. Zexithera felt his legs wobble. How long did this take you to build? Oh, about 200 years, Dr. Price said casually. We started construction right after we detected your empire expanding in our direction. We figured we might need better defenses eventually. 200 years. Vextel gasped. That means you've been preparing for us since before we even knew you existed. That's right, Admiral Kelly said, returning to the screen. We've been watching you conquer world after world. We studied your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. We had plenty of time to get ready. Zexithera looked at his fleet surrounding the strange structure. 50,000 ships, the largest force the Empire had ever assembled. Surely that was enough to destroy anything, even this impossible construction. You may have built an impressive fortress, he said, but you cannot stand against the might of the Galactic Empire. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Admiral, Kelly's expression didn't change. I'm afraid that's not going to happen. You see, we gave you a chance to leave peacefully. We told you to run. You didn't listen. All ships, Zexithera commanded. Open fire. Destroy that abomination. The Empire fleet unleashed everything they had. Thousands of energy beams, plasma, cannons, and missile warheads struck the human structure. The attack was so massive that it lit up space like a new sun. When the light faded, the Dyson sphere was completely undamaged. Not even a scratch marked its surface. Our turn, Admiral Kelly said calmly. The human structure began to glow. Weapons that looked nothing like anything the Empire had ever seen emerged from hidden ports. Some looked like giant mirrors that focused starlight into deadly beams. Others appeared to be holes in space itself that bent gravity into weapons. The first human weapon fired, and an Empire cruiser simply vanished. Not destroyed, not blown apart, just gone as if it had never existed. The second weapon created a wave of energy that passed through a dozen Empire ships. The vessels remained intact, but all their systems shut down. The crews inside were unharmed but completely helpless. A third weapon launched what looked like a small asteroid. But as it flew toward the Empire fleet, it split into thousands of smaller pieces. Each piece was a guided missile with enough power to destroy a battleship. They moved through space like a swarm of angry insects, hunting down Empire vessels. Impossible, Zexithera breathed. How do you have weapons like this? We told you, Dr. Price's voice came over the speakers. We had 200 years to prepare. Did you think we spent all that time just moving rocks around? More human weapons activated. Gravity manipulators grabbed Empire ships and crushed them like tin cans. Energy projectors that used the power of the sun itself carved through the Empire's strongest shields. Most terrifying of all, some weapons seemed to attack the very atoms that made up the enemy ships, causing them to fall apart at the molecular level. But the humans weren't trying to destroy the entire fleet. Zexithera realized they were being very careful about which ships they destroyed and which ones they just disabled. It was like they were giving a demonstration rather than fighting a real battle. Why aren't you killing all of us? He asked. Because we're not monsters, Admiral Kelly replied. We could have destroyed your entire fleet in the first minute. We could have wiped out every Empire world from here. But we don't want to be conquerors. We just want you to leave us alone. Small human. Ships began launching from the Dyson sphere. They moved unlike anything Zexithera had ever seen. dancing between Empire vessels like they were performing a ballet. Their hulls seemed to be made of the same material as the sphere itself, and they carried weapons that made no sense to Empire. Scientist Commander Rick Stone led the first wave of these fighters. His voice came over the communications as his ships moved through the Empire fleet. Empire vessels, power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted out of our space. Any ship that continues to fire will be disabled. The Empire ships that tried to fight back found their weapon systems mysteriously failing. The human fighters seemed to be able to shut down enemy technology just by getting close to it. Within an hour, the massive Empire fleet was completely helpless. Half the ships were disabled, floating dead in space. The other half had surrendered rather than face the same fate. Zexthera sat in his command chair, staring at the impossible structure that had once been a simple planet. His mighty fleet, the pride of the Empire, had been defeated without the humans even seeming to try very hard. "Now do you understand?" Admiral Kelly asked. "We told you to run because we knew what would happen if you didn't. We tried to save you from this embarrassment." "What happens now?" Zexthera asked quietly. "Now you go home," Kelly replied. "You tell your Emperor what you saw here. You tell him that humanity is not interested in conquest or empire. But if anyone threatens us again, they'll find out why we spent 200 years getting ready for you." The human fighters began herding the disabled Empire ships toward the edge of the solar system. Ships that couldn't move under their own power were gently pushed by human vessels. "Oh, and Admiral Zexthera," Grace Kelly added, "when you get home, you might want to check on your outer colonies. Some of them have been liberated while you were here. The species you enslaved are getting their freedom back." Zexthera felt his heart sink even further. While he had been focused on conquering humanity, the humans had somehow been freeing Empire slaves across the galaxy. As his crippled fleet limped away from the Sol system, Zexthera looked back at the impossible structure one last time. The humans had turned their entire planet into a weapon, and they had done it so quietly that the Empire never suspected anything. "Sir," Vextal said quietly, "what do we tell the Emperor?" Zexthera closed his 6 eyes. "We tell him the truth. We tell him that we found something in this galaxy that we cannot conquer, and we tell him that the humans were right." "Right about what, sir?" "They told us to run. We should have listened." Emperor Thaxmord sat on his crystal throne, his ancient face twisted with rage. The massive throne room of Krull Prime was filled with terrified officials and military commanders. News of the defeat at Sol had spread throughout the Empire like wildfire. "Explain to me," the Emperor said, his voice deadly quiet, "how 50,000 ships were defeated by primitives who barely knew how to travel between stars." High Admiral Zexthera knelt before the throne, his body shaking. "Your Majesty, they are not primitives. They have technology beyond our understanding. They turned their entire planet into a weapon." "Impossible," snarled General Kickstar, the Empire's chief military advisor. "No species has that capability. You must have encountered some kind of trick or illusion." "I saw it with my own eyes," Zexthera replied. "They have weapons that use gravity itself as a tool of war. They can disable our ships without firing. A shot. They can make matter simply disappear." Emperor Thaxmord had ruled the Galactic Empire for over 1,000 years. In all that time, no enemy had ever defeated an Empire fleet so completely. The humiliation burned in his chest like acid. "Summon all reserve fleets," he commanded. "Call in every vassal species. I want 200,000 ships assembled within 1 month. We will crush these humans and make an example of them that the galaxy will never forget." But while the Emperor planned his revenge, humanity was already moving across the galaxy. Colonel Amy Foster stood on the bridge of the UHS Liberation as it approached Xerion 4, a mining world where the Empire kept thousands of alien slaves. The ship was unlike anything the Empire had built. It seemed to phase in and out of normal space, making it nearly impossible to detect or target. "Scanning the planet now," reported her tactical officer. "Confirmed Empire garrison of 10,000. Troops. Approximately 50,000 enslaved beings from 6 different species." Amy nodded. "Begin Operation Freedom. All teams to your positions. The Liberation released dozens of smaller craft that flew toward the planet's surface. These ships moved so quietly that Empire sensors couldn't detect them. They landed near slave camps and mining facilities like ghosts in the night. On the planet's surface, a Zephyrian slave named Keltar was working in the deep mines when strange lights appeared in the tunnels. He had been enslaved for 30 years, ever since the Empire conquered his homeworld. He expected nothing but misery until he died. Then humans appeared in the mine shafts. They wore armor that seemed to bend light around it, making them hard to see clearly. Their weapons were small but incredibly powerful. Most importantly, they moved with purpose and confidence that Keltar had never seen before. "We're here to free you," said the human leader, removing her helmet to reveal a kind face. "My name is Captain Linda Shaw. Can you help us find the other prisoners?" Keltar stared in amazement. In 30 years of slavery, no one had ever come to rescue them. "You're really here to help us?" "That's what we do," Captain Shaw replied with a smile. Within hours, the human teams had liberated every slave camp on the planet. The Empire guards were stunned unconscious by weapons that didn't kill, but left the enemies helpless for days. The humans moved so efficiently that the garrison never had time to call for help. But the rescue was just the beginning. The humans had brought something even more valuable than freedom. They brought technology. Engineer Pete Johnson worked with the freed slaves to build new defensive platforms around their world. The construction machines he brought could turn raw asteroids into powerful weapons in a matter of hours. "How is this possible?" asked Vexelin, a Altarian engineer who had been enslaved for decades. "These machines work faster than anything I've ever seen." Pete grinned. "We learned a lot while building our Dyson sphere. When you have to take apart an entire planet and put it back together, you get pretty good at construction." The defensive platforms they built were smaller versions of the weapons that had defeated the Empire fleet at Sol. Within a week, the formerly enslaved world was better protected than most Empire military bases. Meanwhile, Dr. Sandra Martinez sat in her laboratory, aboard the human command ship, analyzing intercepted Empire communications. What she discovered made her call an emergency meeting with Admiral Grace Kelly. "They've been watching us for much longer than we thought," Sandra reported. "I found records going back almost 500 years. They knew about Earth before we even had spaceflight." Admiral Kelly frowned. "Then why didn't they attack sooner?" "Because they thought we were harmless," Sandra explained. "Every time their scouts visited Earth, we made sure they only saw primitive technology. While they were watching our cities and farms, we were building our real technology underground and in space, where they couldn't see it." The revelation was shocking. Humanity had been playing a careful game of deception for centuries, appearing weak while secretly becoming the most advanced species in the galaxy. "There's more," Sandra continued. "The Empire has been studying dozens of species before conquering them. They have detailed files on the weaknesses of every race they've defeated, but their files on humans are completely wrong." "Wrong how?" "They think we're cowardly because we avoid direct confrontation. They think we're weak because we prefer negotiation to violence. They think we're primitive because we still use basic tools alongside advanced technology. They completely misunderstood everything about human nature." Captain Jennifer Lee of the UHS Vengeance was discovering this firsthand as she met with representatives of the Andromedans, a species that had been enslaved by the Empire for 200 years. "Your people really defeated the Empire fleet?" asked Chancellor Rixta, her tentacles trembling with hope. "We did," Jennifer confirmed. "And we're here to offer you the same technology we used, not to conquer you, but to help you defend yourselves." The Andromedans had tried to rebel against the Empire many times, but they had always failed. Their weapons were no match for Empire technology, and their ships couldn't compete with Empire fleets. "What do you want in return?" Chancellor Rixta asked suspiciously. "Every species that has ever helped us wanted something." Jennifer smiled. "We want you to be free, that's all. Freedom is something every intelligent being deserves." It was a concept the Andromedans had trouble understanding. In their experience, power was always used to control others. The idea that humans would share their technology without demanding anything in return seemed impossible. But when the human ships demonstrated their capabilities, the Andromedans began to believe. Human weapons could disable Empire ships without destroying them. Human shields could protect entire planets from attack. Most incredibly, human construction techniques could build these defenses in days instead of years. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds. Species that had suffered under Empire rule for generations suddenly found hope. The Crystalline Collective, the Silicon Federation, the Plasma Riders, and many others began reaching out to humanity for help. Each alliance made the Empire weaker and humanity stronger. But more importantly, it created something that had never existed in the galaxy before, a coalition of free peoples working together by choice instead of fear. Admiral Morrison, now commanding a fleet of ships built from converted planetary matter, sent regular reports back to Earth. "The Empire is mobilizing everything they have," he reported to Admiral Kelly. "Our scouts count over 150,000 ships gathering at Crawl Prime. They're planning one final assault." "Let them come," Kelly replied calmly. "We tried to warn them peacefully. Now we'll have to teach them the hard way." But before the Empire could launch their massive attack, humanity delivered one final message. It was broadcast to every world, in the galaxy, using communication technology that bypassed all Empire censorship systems. The message was simple and came from Ambassador Lisa Carter, the woman who had first warned the Empire to leave human space. "To all intelligent species in the galaxy," she said, looking directly into the camera, "the Galactic Empire has ruled through fear and slavery for too long. Today, that ends. Any world that wants freedom need only ask, and humanity will help you achieve it. Any species that wants to remain enslaved to the Empire is free to make that choice." She paused, then continued with steel in her voice. "To the Empire itself, we repeat our original warning. You have one last chance to choose. Peace over war. Stand down your fleets and release your slaves, and we will leave you alone. Continue on your current path, and you will discover why we told you to run." The message ended, but its impact rippled across the galaxy like a shockwave. On 1,000 worlds, enslaved beings looked up at the stars with hope for the first time in their lives. Emperor Thax Morda watched the broadcast from his throne room, his rage building to levels that made his advisors step back in fear. "They dare to threaten the Empire?" he roared. "They dare to steal our property and call it liberation?" "Your Majesty," General Kickstar said carefully, "perhaps we should reconsider. Their technology is clearly superior to ours." The Emperor's 6 eyes focused on the general with murderous intent. "Are you suggesting we surrender to primitives?" "I'm suggesting we avoid total destruction," the general replied. Emperor Thax Mord rose from his throne, his ancient body trembling with fury. "The Empire has ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. The massive Empire fleet gathered at Crawl Prime was the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. 200,000 ships stretched across space like a metal ocean. Emperor Thax Mord stood on the bridge of his super flagship, the Divine Wrath, watching his armada prepare for the final battle. "This is it," he declared to his assembled admirals. "Today we crush the human rebellion and restore order to the galaxy. No primitive species will ever dare challenge the Empire again." But as the Emperor spoke, Admiral Morrison was leading humanity's response fleet toward the Empire's capital world. The human ships moved through space unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. They seemed to bend reality around them, appearing and disappearing as they traveled faster than light itself. Morrison's fleet was much smaller than the Empire's massive armada. Only 10,000 ships followed him toward Crawl Prime, but these vessels had been built from the converted matter of entire worlds, powered by technologies that used stars themselves as fuel sources. "Admiral, we're approaching the Empire capital." "System," reported his navigation officer. "Enemy fleet detected, confirming 200,000 hostile vessels." Morrison nodded calmly. "Open a channel to all ships. This is it, people. Today we end 3,000 years of tyranny. Remember, we didn't want this fight, but now that it's here, we finish it properly." Captain Lisa Carter, now commanding a Ship built around a contained black hole. Checked her weapon systems. Her vessel, the UHS Reckoning, was humanity's most advanced warship. Its main weapon could manipulate gravity itself, bending space and time into tools of war. "All ships report ready, Admiral," she announced. "Then let's go teach them why we told them to run," Morrison replied. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the crawl system. Immediately, the Empire's sensors detected them, and alarms began screaming across the enemy armada. "Humans approaching," reported Emperor Thaxmord's tactical officer. "Fleet size approximately 10,000 vessels." The Emperor laughed, a sound like breaking glass. 10,000 ships against 200,000, they must be completely insane. All ships open fire. Destroy every human vessel. The Empire fleet unleashed the most devastating attack in galactic history. Energy beams that could melt planets, missiles that could crack moons, and plasma cannons that burned as hot as stars, all fired at once. The combined assault lit up space, brighter than the system's sun. When the light faded, the human ships were still there, completely undamaged. "Impossible," whispered General Kickstar. "Nothing could survive that much firepower." "Our turn," Admiral Morrison said quietly. "Captain." Carter activated her ship's primary weapon. The contained black hole at the heart of the UHS Reckoning began to spin faster, warping space around it. Suddenly, gravity became a weapon that could reach across thousands of miles. Empire ships began to stretch and bend as impossible forces pulled at them. Some vessels were crushed into tiny balls of metal. Others were torn apart as different parts of them experienced different levels of gravity. The most fortunate ships simply had their systems shut down by the gravitational distortion. But Carter's ship was just one of many. Engineer Bob Taylor coordinated the systematic shutdown of Empire technology across the entire fleet. His ships carried devices that could speak directly to enemy computers, convincing them to simply stop working. "Empire vessels," Taylor broadcast, "your computers are now under our control. Please power down your weapons and prepare to surrender." Across the massive Empire fleet, ship after ship went dark as their own systems turned against them. Weapons powered down, engines shut off, and life support switched to minimum levels. It was like the ships themselves had decided to surrender. "What's happening?" Emperor Thaxmord demanded. "Why aren't our ships responding?" "Sir, they're reporting that their computers are receiving override commands," his communications officer replied in a shaky voice. "The humans are somehow controlling our technology." Dr. Nathan Price's voice came over the communications from his ship. "Hello there, Empire folks. We thought you might like to know how we're doing this. You see, we've been studying your technology for centuries. We know your computer systems better than you do. We even helped design some of them." The revelation hit the Empire leadership like a physical blow. The humans hadn't just been hiding their advanced technology. They had been secretly influencing Empire development for generations. "Every time you captured human traders or explorers," Dr. Price continued cheerfully, "they left behind little gifts in your computer networks, tiny programs that looked like normal code but were actually designed to give us access when we needed it. We've been preparing for this day for a very long time." Emperor Thaxmord felt his world crumbling around him. His mighty fleet was being defeated not by superior firepower, but by superior planning and intelligence. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet," his communications officer reported. "Put it through," the Emperor said, his voice hollow. Admiral Morrison appeared on the screen. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard as steel. "Emperor Thaxmord, your fleet is defeated. Your technology is under our control. Your empire is finished. I'm offering you one final chance to surrender." "Never," the Emperor snarled. "The Empire will never bow to primitives." "Then you've chosen the hard way," Morrison replied sadly. "Captain Carter, please demonstrate why that was a poor decision." Lisa Carter's ship moved toward the Emperor's super flagship. As it approached, space itself seemed to bend around the all-human vessel. The Divine Wrath, largest ship in the Empire fleet, began to stretch like taffy as gravity distorted around it. But Carter wasn't trying to destroy the ship. Instead, she used her gravitational weapon to simply move it, pushing the massive vessel away from the battle zone like it weighed nothing at all. Your Majesty, Morrison continued, we could destroy your entire fleet in minutes. We could turn every Empire world into dust. We could wipe your species from existence, but we won't. Do you know why? Emperor Thaxamord said nothing, staring at the human who had just casually pushed aside his mightiest warship. Because we're not conquerors, Morrison explained. We're liberators. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want everyone in it to be free. Across the Empire fleet, disabled ships began receiving new communications. Human voices offered medical aid, food supplies, and safe passage home. There were no demands for surrender, no threats of execution, no plans for slavery. We're going to give you a choice, Morrison said. Your people can return to your homeworlds and live in peace. Your empire is finished, but your species doesn't have to be. All we ask is that you release every slave, free every conquered world, and never again try to force others to serve you. And if we refuse? The Emperor asked. Morrison's expression didn't change. Then we'll do what we should have done from the beginning. We'll make the choice for you. Around Kral Prime, human ships began broadcasting to the planet's surface. The message wasn't directed at the government or military, but at ordinary citizens who had lived under the Empire's rule their entire lives. People of Kral Prime, announced Ambassador Lisa Carter, your empire has fallen. Your fleets are defeated. Your technology is under our control. But this doesn't have to be a tragedy. This can be the beginning of something better. The broadcast showed images of worlds that had already been liberated by humanity. Former slaves working alongside their former masters as equals, planets rebuilding with advanced human technology, species that had been enemies for centuries learning to cooperate and prosper together. We're offering you the same choice we've offered everyone else, Carter continued. Freedom, the right to choose your own government, your own laws, your own future. All you have to do is say yes. On the planet's surface, millions of ordinary citizens watched the human broadcast and saw something they had never imagined before. Hope for a different kind of life. Emperor Thaxamord realized that he had already lost, not just the battle, but the war for the hearts and minds of his own people. The humans weren't conquering the Empire. They were offering its citizens something better. What happens now? He asked quietly. Now you go home, Morrison replied. You tell your people that the age of empire is over. You help them build something new, something based on cooperation instead of conquest. The great Empire fleet began to disperse. Ships that had come to destroy humanity instead limped home carrying news of a galaxy transformed. The age of the UAM, Galactic Empire was ending, but the age of galactic freedom was just beginning. Dr. Helen Ross, now elderly but still sharp, watched from the Sol Dyson sphere as human ships patrolled space that had once belonged to the Empire. A young officer approached her with a question that had been troubling him. Doctor, do you think they'll try to attack us again someday? Helen smiled and pointed to the stars, where other species were beginning to adopt human technology and human ideas about freedom and cooperation. They had their chance, son, she said softly. We told them to run. Now the whole galaxy knows why. Across the stars, former Empire worlds were choosing their own governments. Former slaves were building new civilizations. Former enemies were learning to work together. The Galactic Empire was dead. In its place, something better was being born.